we are glad to have you guys with us today. And if you're watching this webinar on demand, you're also welcome. And if you can please share with us if you can see me and hear me well in the chat section. Yeah, okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. So we are having a great discussion today on advanced user acquisition strategies and hybrid measurement for maximizing return on investment for iOS apps. So I can see people connecting. Okay, great. So let's warm up. We have a wonderful summer outside, well, at least where I am. I have 27 degrees Celsius here in London for several days now. It's very unusual for London. So if you can share your city or country or both and the temperature that you have, that would be great, a warm up. India, great. Delhi. Berlin, 31. Montenegro. Amsterdam. London, 25. It's 27 where I am, I don't know. Bali, 26. Hamburg. Kiev. Latvia. 40 degree, my bad. Istanbul. Helsinki, 22. Sao Paulo, wow, 21. Great. We have a pretty global global list of attendees. So welcome everybody, and we are really happy to have you here at SplitMetrics App Growth Panel. As you know, SplitMetrics is a global company offering the ecosystem of enterprise product and services for the mobile business. So we are official Apple Search Ads partner, and we have a dedicated team of 150 plus experts who live and breathe mobile app growth. We are obsessed with making our customers successful. That's why top global app and game publishers choose to grow with SplitMetrics. So my name is Eugene Lesechko, and I'm Associate Sales Director at SplitMetrics, and I'll be a host for today. And please welcome our experts and panelists. Niels Bennan, Partnership Lead EMEA at Singular. Niels is a commercially minded business leader in the marketing and advertising industry. Niels has over 15 years experience working with fast-paced startups, brands, and tech organizations in sales, online and mobile advertising technology. Alper Taner, app growth consultant. He's a full stack app growth consultant with 10+ years of experience focusing on app growth and retention topic through improving Martech stock setup, performance marketing channels, conversion funnel optimization, and ASO. His track record includes managing thousands of campaigns with 8-figure annual budgets, working with 60+ apps across various verticals worldwide. Jiho from Aloco is a result-driven partner leader with a strong track record in building strategic alliances with cutting-edge technology partners. She specializes in identifying innovative measurement solutions and has a keen eye for emerging trends in the ever-changing mobile ecosystem. And Ksenia Kirchich from SplitMetrics. She's a senior user acquisition manager with a wealth of experience spanning over 10 years in the gaming and mobile app industry. She excels in analyzing data, identifying key performance indicators, and implementing data-driven strategies. Her ability to navigate diverse marketing channels, manage substantial budgets, and deliver exceptional results make her an invaluable asset in driving growth and achieving outstanding outcomes for her clients. Okay, cool. So just before we start, right, there are a few housekeeping items. So we have some questions prepared, but we also welcome you guys to ask your questions in the chat section. Our panelists or our experts will try to cover them. If we don't have enough time to cover all of your questions, we will come back to you through the email or through other social media channels. So we are recording this session, and we will be sending this recording to you straight after the panel. So with this, I'd like to open today's discussion. And let's start with a quick poll. If our team can, yes, wonderful, thank you very much. So guys, I encourage you to take part in this. So the result will be shared a bit later during the panel, and we will also include them in our post-event article. So here we have a question about marketing technologies and investment. Okay, let's start with Alper. Alper, in one of the Mobile Heroes podcasts recently, you said that the Martech stack is the foundational element of successful paid user acquisition campaigns. So how does the modern Martech stack look like, and how AI is influencing its state?
Cool, thank you. So first of all, thank you for having me once again, and hi everyone. So I did mention that your Martech stack is the foundational element, and as you can see throughout the user journey, there are many parts of the Martech stack that is supporting the whole user journey. And many people ask me, like, what tools shall we use? I would like to use an analogy of like a skyscraper, where the Martech is like the infrastructure of the skyscraper, which represents your mobile app or business. And just like a skyscraper, your business needs a solid foundation to withstand any environmental forces such as scan. And I'll give some examples, like in-app analytics, or like the structural columns, as a business relies on this to track and optimize and report on. MMP would be more like the electrical cables, bringing light to all parts of the building, is essential to attribute user actions to the right marketing campaigns. Let's pick up another one, like the CRO tools are like the skyscraper's safety systems, constantly testing and optimizing to ensure everything is working efficiently. And just like a skyscraper, your business also needs regular maintenance and updates. You may add some new tools, or you might update existing ones, just like you would modernize the elevator system of the skyscraper. While I applaud companies who manage to be profitable without a proper setup, it's worth noting that they're potentially missing out on efficiency and scaling faster. It comes down to like they don't know what they don't know because of their current status quo that hasn't been changing for a while. And I also like to emphasize that just using the tools alone won't solve all your problems. For instance, you need to know how to implement events in a specific way that complies with limitations of scan. And there are many details which related to the whole Martech stack. So it's not just plug and play. You can, but then you might be missing out on specific things, such as the scan-related limitations, for example, when it comes to event tracking and updating the conversion values and so on. So if you're constructing your Martech stack or considering a health check on your current setup, so don't hesitate to reach out. Now back to AI. AI and ML are not new to marketers, and models like TensorFlow has been out since 17, I think even 2015 as an example. And we have the predictive churn, we have the predictive analytics in general, and many CRM and in-app analytics tools. And it's just with the AI's increased accessibility and user-friendly interfaces, now it's just a no-brainer to use them in marketing, and specifically in performance marketing to enhance the creative ideas, write better briefs for designers, and also actually producing the creative copy and visuals. I believe every marketer should play around with AI tools to learn how to guide it for better output, as it will be inevitable part of the creative process in upcoming months and years, if not now. My advice would be, don't just write 1-2 sentence prompts like, I want a Facebook ad copy doing XYZ, but train the model with multiple prompts, make sure they understand what you're trying to achieve, and feed them with your best performer ads and your worst performers. Give them the boundaries, the limitations, and the way of thinking, and all that, and use frameworks such as the one that we see here. There are many different type of design frameworks and copy frameworks, and also make sure to use the other variables that matters for your vertical. So the more you give in, better the outputs are. And there's no one perfect tool to produce the best results. I suggest using a few of them for inspiration and to expand on your ideas. And for the moment, AI won't replace you, but people who use AI can. So you have to be careful on that. And everyone is aware of all the tools, but there's a smaller percentage of users who are actually executing it and using it in the live campaigns, based on my observation. So.
Yeah, thank you. No, I completely agree with you. It's not about AI itself. It's about the person who actually operated. So yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this insight with us. Let's take at the poll results. Do we have them? Okay, interesting. Campaign management, A/B testing, mobile analytics. Okay, wonderful. Now shifting our focus to another expert on our panel, I would like to ask the question to Niels. So Niels, when it comes to user acquisition strategy, the channel mix plays a crucial role, channel kitchen. Specifically in the context of iOS apps, could you tell us what are the top performing channels that have shown consistent success in driving installs and engagement? And before, Niels, you jumping into that, I think we have another poll. If we can bring it, yeah, wonderful. So, oh, wow, this is interesting. I promise this is not a sponsored part of the webinar. So I'm not going to read the question or read any answers. So yeah, okay, thank you. Neil, back to you.
Yeah, sure. First of all, really great to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I did spot on that previous poll that 50% of respondents were looking to explore marketing measurement and analytics tools. Do send me an email because we can definitely have a very good discussion about that. Look, if you look at the platforms, the partners that you can be working with, you'll see on the right, who are sort of your go-to players for, if you kind of look at this from a vertical agnostic sort of way, who are the ones that can really drive volumes of installs, that can drive good quality users, then this is pretty much the cream of the crop, so to say, right? The data that I analyze comes from our ROI index. So of course, at Singular, we collect all of the cost data for all of our customers, and we connect that with like the attribution data on their campaigns. So we can see how much are people spending, what is the ROI, and then we also look at how many of our customers are using them. And then we see, hey, these are the ones that are performing best. So I'm actually very curious to see, like at the end as well, who of these partners is the best performing partner for the people on the panel. Now, later on in the conversation, we'll talk a bit more about how would measurement impact how you perceive the performance of specific partners. But for example, and you can go to the next slide here, looking at iOS growth marketing in particular, we see that developers that are more sophisticated when it comes to scan, that have gone through a lot of testing and iterations and kind of, got their game in order, they tend to be very successful with the larger partners out there. So we're talking about like Meta, we're talking about Google as well. But we also see Moloco, we've seen impressive growth there like last year, but also Moloco performing very good when it comes to gaming on scans. So Geo, very, very good there. Some additional insights though, like if you look at market consolidation, we definitely see that for you to be able to get a spot in that, like, the 10 best or the 15 best, so to say, is becoming increasingly more difficult, because we see that there's a select club of large players, the logos who are familiar, that really are expanding their share of voice or their market share, so to say, and that is really going at the expense of, say, your tier 2 or tier 3 networks, so that field is getting smaller. We see that also with the absolute number of platforms, networks, whatever you want to call them, they have decreased in our index as well, from, say, like about 300 to about like 250. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no new networks like coming up, or like new formats being introduced, but we see that it's much harder for new players to really make a dent in that market. Then in terms of scan winners, there's quite a few. You see, the top 5 here as well. These are just alphabetically ranked, by the way, so it doesn't say anything about the absolute performance or if one is number 1 or like one is number 5. But we see Moloko, AppLovin, Apple Search Ads being the winners in the scan era. And now Apple Search Ads, there's an assumption on market, of course, that Apple Search Ads is really growing in a post-IDFA era, which to a degree is true, but people sometimes forget that Apple Search Ads was already like a big growing partner for years. So this growth is not only coming just because of ATT, right? Then I think the last thing I can add here in terms of the ROI index, we look at this from the spend point of view and look what ROI is. We don't look at what type of users are you acquiring, or what is the intent of the user that you're getting, or like if you segment users in a particular way, who are these users that you're bringing in. So these results give you an indication who you could be working with, but it's not an indication of what these platforms can do, like in terms of those users that you're getting in the end. If you want a copy of the ROI index, again, ping me an email and I can send it over.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Niels. Let's take a look at the results. I'm really curious. Oh, here we go.
Interesting.
Again, I can't comment on that. We are trying to be unbiased, so you take your own conclusions. So, okay, now turning to our Apple Search Ads experts on the panel. Ksenia, could you please share with us key trends and growth opportunities that you see for the Apple Search Ads this year?
Yeah, hi. Glad being here today with you, and sure, I'm ready to share some ideas regarding current trends and growth opportunities in Apple Search Ads. And I would like to highlight 3 main points there: custom product pages, multi-placement strategy, and the synergy of ASO and Apple Search Ads. First, finally, we can see that more and more advertisers started using custom product pages. And I guess this is the best thing Apple implemented recently, because we can see that conversion rate from impressions to clicks and then to downloads can be increased significantly, as well as cost can be decreased. And it happens almost in all channels that support adding custom product pages. So CPP can change your performance not only in Apple Search Ads, for example, but in Facebook as well. And we have a great case with one of our clients, Pixart. They implemented custom product pages in Apple Search Ads, and the number of trials increased by more than 2 times. Also, cost per trial decreased by 50%. You can find more details about this case following the link my colleague sent in the chat. So this client tested different hypotheses and created CPP for each customer segment based on those hypotheses. On our side at SplitMetrics, we support our clients by showing them CPP that their competitors use. So we have a feature, CPP Intelligence, that permanently searches for CPP and can show all assets and some metrics insights that can help to brainstorm for new ideas and hypotheses. And move on to the next slide. Secondly, new ad placements. As you may know, Apple added more placements to the tab and product page ads. So now we have 4 available placements in Apple Search Ads. We've been monitoring results of using one placement strategy and a multi-placement strategy. And I should admit that it's quite a common case when a multi-placement strategy allows to get better results in terms of growing revenue. For example, one of our clients from the game category managed to increase the search volume of their branded keywords, and that led to an increase in users' volume and allowed them to increase the amount of revenue. So more details also probably we can find in our blog. Also, Apple has recently announced that starting this July, Today tab ads will be showcased in a new format. So we are looking forward to new tests. And we can go to the next slide, because this is my third point, and this is about a synergy between ASO and Apple search strategy. And we can see that more and more advertisers started focusing on implementing this strategy. We have a case to share that one of our clients turned to SplitMetrics agency with a request to boost their app's visibility and downloads on App Store. And our approach was not only to include these keywords to meta description, but also launch an Apple Search Ads campaign bidding on needed keywords. As a result, the app began ranking higher for these keywords organically, and on the other hand, the app started getting impressions for these keywords in Apple Search Ads as well. And to support ASO and Apple Search Ads synergy, SplitMetrics implemented some features like keyword research, rank and search popularity metrics, so we can have all needed information for ASO and ASA in one place. It really helps us to improve our strategies where we combine ASO and Apple Search Ads. So I guess I've shared all my points regarding current trends and opportunities, what we are going to follow this year.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ksenia. Very useful and interesting. So yeah, Apple keeps coming with the new placements. It's very interesting how it's going to develop. So, okay, so now to further enrich our discussion, I want to bring Jiho here. So it's been almost 2 years since SKAdNetwork was introduced, right? And there's a very hot topic, like everybody's talking about it, offline events, online events. So how is the current status of SKAdNetwork adoption, and how marketeers should actually approach in this changing iOS landscape?
Great question, Eugene, and thanks for the question and thanks for inviting. Really looking forward to share my opinions on this SKAdNetwork, especially with this question. So we have a lot to unpack here. So let's quickly take us back to about 2 years ago when SKAdNetwork, so called SKAN, was introduced with app tracking transparency. When iOS 14.5 was first released with SKAN 2.2, as we all remember, this version of SKAN only supported a single install postback with a very limited measurement capacity. As the ATT release happened, the entire ad tech ecosystem was on a mission to understand what SKAdNetwork is to begin with, how each part of ecosystem has to implement it, how we can target users without IDFA, what are the measurement options we have left when we implement it, which again was very limited compared to what we previously had before. So here our partner Singular has been doing a tremendous job by gathering all the part of the ecosystem together since the day one. So as you can see from the highlight of the survey that was conducted by Singular back in the time, a majority of the app publisher didn't know how to navigate SKAN measurement and also not very confident of actioning it even if they implemented it. So within all this, despite Apple's intention and its vision, SKAdNetwork came in a quite strong way and created let's say, obstructive perception towards iOS developers and marketers. And I strongly believe this highly impacted the industry adoption of SKAdNetwork until today, even after a few important updates. So let's move to the next slide and see what has changed since. One more. Awesome. So I guess some of the audience must be wondering about Apple's announcement about Scan 5.0 earlier this month at WWDC. Here, we only have a partial detail about Scan 5.0, and the actual adoption will take longer time after the release, depending on users' OS version updates. So I really want to ensure the audience here that we will have time to cover that, and there will be more to come in the future from Apple regarding Scan 5.0. So let's focus on where we are today. So when we look into the update highlights on Scan in the past 2 years, we can notice that Apple has been continuously incorporating ecosystems feedback and updating Scan capabilities on each version. The most significant update so far has been Scan 3.0 and the 4.0, which is the current version that was released in October last year. So we will look into the benefit in shortly, but here, it is worth noting that the updated features from Scan 4.0 can significantly change the way we measure and optimize iOS performance for both marketers and the ad network these marketers work with. So this update tendency from Apple on Scan is actually the proof that Apple is proactively taking marketers' feedback into account, and most importantly, Scan capabilities will evolve more as it goes. Let's move to the next slide to dive deeper on the Scan 4.0. What's different about Scan 4.0 is that it introduced several game-changing features for both marketers and ad network, especially those who can optimize with a real-time machine learning technology. But looking into each update, while the previous version only supported one single postback, the current version supports 2 additional, so 3 postback in total that can be sent within a different time period. And the first postback carries the richest data, but the rest of the postback does less. Still, that being said, this still allows marketers to identify different level of user engagement in different time frames up to 35 days post-install. Not only for the optimization, these data could also be very valuable to measure the user LTV from the campaign as well. And we cannot not mention about the 4-digit source identifiers. So we have 2 more digits that open each ad network to have a maximum 10,000 options per advertiser app. And here, each digit can represent different sources and can be used for additional reporting breakdowns such as creative or country, basically whatever that matters to help the iOS campaign optimization on Scan. So it is extremely important for marketers to work very closely with their partners like MMPs to get the guidance on the configuration, and also to get on a talk with their ad partners early as possible to exchange the ideas on how they want this to be defined. Lastly, there is the web to app attribution capacity on Safari, which is one of the updates. This update opens up more optimization strategies for marketer because of the flexible nature of the web environment. Marketers can flexibly make the best of the web environment to acquire users rather than being limited to the standard App Store onboarding environment to acquire the user. And of course, this will provide more insight on the user preference in terms of contents and product itself, which give even more data to feed the optimization model. In a nutshell, Apple will keep developing privacy-centric measurement feature through Scan. While the industry adoption is inevitable, adapting Scan 4.0 as earlier as possible will allow more data and more campaign insight for the further optimization. So if you see on the right, looking into Moloka's feed request data, we see around like 30% of total traffic in open RTB is now eligible for Scan 4.0. Truth be told, the industry adoption is still pretty slow, noting that it took almost 9 months since its launch to arrive at this percentage. But also, this percentage mean if anyone hasn't implemented SKAN 4.0 strategies today, that means that they are actually missing out on the valuable insight that could come from quite a significant portion of traffic right now. So my take here is that it is right time for advertisers to take their strategies around SKAN more seriously than ever. It is extremely important for them to understand their option, start experimenting different strategies with right ad partners, and start gathering data that will allow them to optimize their campaigns even furthermore. So this is not only to make the most of the current version of SKAN, but also an important exercise to smoothly transition to the future version of it, whether that is SKAN 5.0 or any future update that Apple will make. So this is it, but I understand that there's a lot to unpack and understand here. But again, adapting SKAN is inevitable. And most importantly, Apple's opening up more and more possibilities for marketers to make the most out of it. Here, the MMP partners and your ad partners can be a great resource to navigate the whole process. And speaking of which, actually, Singular brought a thought-through strategic suggestion in the context of SKAN 4.0 that I recommend any iOS marketers to check. So sending it to the chat box, read it through, and start building the strategies around SKAN, and make sure to take the full advantage of the SKAN framework.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Jiho. And yeah, let's continue conversation about the post iOS 14 era, but from the slightly different angle from the user acquisition strategies. And let's go back to you, Alper. So how do you target users where interest and lookalike targeting is becoming less effective in this post iOS 14 era?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the trend we've been seeing since like post ATT. And you need to keep in mind main personas when designing ads, utilizing both quantitative as well as the qualitative data for different segments. So just showing pure app features that are generic is not always a winner. So it's always good to test the generic ones as well as the segment specific ads, and in showing in these like how your personas would benefit from your product rather than just showing the app features. And this will make a difference, and you're going to see it in data. We use the creative now as the biggest targeting leverage, as algorithms learn from who interacts with each ad and decides on whom to show accordingly. So personalization starts at the ad impression level, and it continues on the app stores with CPPs, and then it extends into the product onboarding screens and to the paywall. On the App Store, Play Store side of things, I believe the custom store listings in Play Store will probably be used in campaigns sometime next year too. And in terms of on the product side, personalization in e-commerce, you can utilize hyperlocal personalization based on what works the best in that region, in that city, and or in general, depending on what kind of data you have, location-based, and or category-based personalization, which helps with increasing conversion rates and retention. And on the subscription side, you can utilize the information you gather during users' onboarding screens to personalize their paywall. Personalizing the paywall based on the user's previous interaction shows significant uplift in conversion rates in many verticals, but especially in health and fitness. And we can imagine personalization of paywall using onboarding data similar to a dating experience, right? Like we can easily look in the offline world, how we meet people. And in an ideal first date, you're trying to learn about the other person, what they like, what they don't like, what are their interests. And the data that you gather, much like the onboarding data you gather in your mobile app, is invaluable to understand how to interact with them effectively if you want to win their heart. So imagine you discover that your date is an avid hiker who enjoys the outdoors. So instead of suggesting a movie as the next activity, you can plan a hike together. I mean, this might sound trivial, but trust me, like there are like hundreds of thousands of apps which don't act like this. Like someone is an avid hiker and they would completely ignore that and they would push their own agenda and USP and whatever they want to just sell. And the same concept applies to personalizing a paywall. So if a user indicates during onboarding that they're interested in gaining more muscles, so we can highlight features related to muscle gain in the paywall with supported testimonials on this topic instead of just showing generic app features or all the features next to each other and so on. So we could definitely play with the ranking and the emphasis on different features based on the information we know about that particular segment. And this shows the user that you're paying attention to their needs and preferences, and in turn, they're more likely to engage and convert, just like in real life. The more commonalities you have, the more you understand. You know, there's a higher chance for better engagement. So another example is if a user has shown interest in specific blocked content within your app, you can test highlighting that content in the paywall, which is also proven to increase the conversion rate for some experiments I led. Basically, don't show the same paywall to all users. Experiment with different variants for segments through personalization. And last but not least, don't forget to personalize it depending on how they trigger the paywall. If they didn't agree to subscribe on the onboarding, don't show exactly the same paywall after they interact with the product. Or depending on which feature they wanted to use, like introduce them to that and how it would benefit to them if they get the unlimited access or the full access to their content. And I think, yeah, that's all I want to say with the limited time we have. So.
Great, Alper, thank you very much. Very interesting. So I think we have another poll. If we guys can bring the poll. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, wonderful. So for UA manager, one of the key challenges is obviously creating and distributing content that truly connects with the audience specific needs and preferences. So Jiho, what advice would you give to the UA managers to win the creative strategy and optimize iOS programmatic campaigns?
Thanks for another great question, Eugene. So one of the effective strategies can be aligning the ad creatives with Apple's custom product page, as SKAdNetwork mentioned. And yes, we can also use it in the programmatic campaign with right creatives. So custom product page allow marketers to personalize the App Store page design after a user clicks on an ad creative. So we can create up to 35 variations, and each unique page can be paired up with the aligned ad creatives together. So the benefit of aligning ad creatives and product page is about keeping the user interest on the ad until the actual answer on the App Store. In addition, it's very suitable to apply an A/B testing in paid campaigns such as programmatic or ASA, as SKAdNetwork mentioned. So taking a leading example from Gem City, one of our trusted partners, Gem City was one of Molokko's first partners in leveraging custom product page as soon as it was released from Apple. To start, they tested 5 custom product pages to see if customizing product page with creatives will lead to the improved result. So by aligning creatives and leveraging Molokko's real-time machine learning based on the performance progress, they witnessed nearly 4 times increase in IPM, 8 times boost on CTR, and over a 10% rise in CTI. So this is another great reason why we strongly recommend marketers to experiment with Apple's new offering on the top of scan, and in this case, to ensure both performance and a positive user experience. Let's move to the next slide. Another recommendation is adapting Apple's own creative offerings, such as SKAdOverlay. So for those who are not very familiar in the audience with the term itself, SKAdOverlay is a banner-sized overlay on the ad that facilitates direct app download promotion within the user's app. It brings notable advantage for advertisers, such as eliminating the need to navigate away from the current screen where the ad is for the app install, and enhancing user ad experience and improving scan attribution measurement in a significant way by ensuring the user flow. So at Moloco, we've been conducting several sets of A/B testing of SK overlay with our advertising partners. The test result shows that each partner would see up to an average of a 30% increase in scan conversion rate as it creates a seamless user experience. Not only SK overlay is officially supported by Apple, it definitely offers substantial benefits to both users and marketer. Hence, we highly recommend any iOS marketers to implement it.
Okay, great. I think we have another poll. And let's go back to the multi-channel approach. So developing successful multi-channel campaigns is a priority for UA managers. And Ksenia, are there any specific strategies or tactics that maybe you found particularly successful in driving user engagement and conversions through the multi-channel approach?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I would say it's a complex one, and I'll try to cover it as I can, following our time limits. And I'd like to focus on paid channel mix, because this approach is the most common within mobile user acquisition. And a mix of paid channels shows more advantages in comparison with one channel strategy. This is about diversification and scaling. Every year, something happens in the mobile industry, but the changes somehow affect our buying approaches. And we always should be ready to rebuild our channel mix to avoid losing amount of users or amount of revenue. Actually, according to Gartner, marketing campaigns integrating 4 or more channels will outperform single or dual channel campaigns by 300%. To build a custom paid channel mix, we should start with apps, competitors, and market analysis, because to create an effective multi-channel strategy, it's crucial to understand a target audience. It allows us to know where our audience exists and how to attract users that are willing to pay. And depending on the app and their goal, it can be different combinations. For example, for one app, we need to focus on Apple search ads, on Google ads, Facebook, and TikTok. But another app requires to skip Facebook, but add networks, for example, like Unity and so on. And another example, soft launch needs different channels, countries, and budgets in comparison with the massive push campaigns, because we need to acquire a small number of cheap users in order to understand how the product works, to enhance the app before the launch and before scaling. And then at the growth stage, we need to use all available tools and channels to expand our reach and provide a steady revenue growth. Also, I'd like to highlight that user acquisition, ASO, and design teams collaboration is a must. All teams should work together to improve their efforts. And it's a common theme that a UA strategy hasn't shown result just because the team didn't align with ASO strategy and with a visual strategy. Additionally, multi-channel campaigns require ongoing optimization and permanent testing to find out which strategies are most effective. It can be different combinations of communication and visual strategy. Also, we should be flexible and be ready to switch to another one in case of changes in the industry or in the channel. As for metrics for analysis, we usually define them based on goals we have. Quite often, the main goal is purchases or subscriptions. So we focus on metrics like cost per action and ROAS to guarantee scaling with profitability. And metrics like cost per install, CTR, CPM, IPM are additional ones, like first signs to control creative performance, changes in auctions, and audience fluctuations. And the last thing I have to mention is an importance of creatives. The creative is a real game changer for user acquisition. So we have to be ready to allocate our effort and budget to define a proper creative strategy and do a lot of tests on an ongoing basis. So I tried to cover this question around paid channel mix, and I think this is all I can say within my time limits.
If I may just add maybe a couple of points on top of Ksenia's points, just based on experience, what I see across the market, where people say, "Oh, we already tested X channel. We already spent $10,000, but they did spend that $10,000 for 4 days." And they're like, "Oh, but we didn't get anything back. We spent 10K and then there was no return." So when it is about channel testing, I would definitely recommend not testing any channel like below 2 weeks time period, but give it 2 weeks to ignore any weekday fluctuation. And because of the scan data delay anyway, you won't get anything just after a few days. Algorithms are not adjusted and configured just after a few days. So, I mean, we all know about the learning phase and everything. So algorithms definitely need that data to be able to act on what you feed in terms of your event and so on. And the same applies, like there are companies who are complaining about their low ROAS, where they are subscription apps, but they only optimize towards an install. It is expected to have that in most cases, because you just tell the algorithm, all I care are installs. So my point is, it is not just about you tested a thing, it's about how you test it. And you need to make sure you have the technical setup, that the postbacks are coming back. You are seeing your events. Those events are matching with your MMP numbers and the ad platform numbers. There's a health discrepancy, and you're running enough time for algorithms to adjust. And yeah, I just wanted to mention as we talk about the channel testing. And so yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Ksenia. Thank you, Alper. Okay, let's talk about measurement now, and measurement and optimization. So advanced user acquisition strategy heavily rely on the data analysis and obviously optimization. So Niels, could you elaborate on hybrid measurement approach and explain how they can benefit UA specialists in evaluating the effectiveness of the campaigns?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a couple of questions in the chat already that are going into this topic. So I think I might even address one of those questions directly already. Maybe to kind of like, set the tone. You probably heard me talk about scan and privacy in quite a few webinars. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, this is like one of my weekly activities to say something about user privacy. The reality is that, it is all about privacy. If you look at one of the reasons why Apple introduced ATT is because we actually want, or like users typically want to share less data with platforms. And if you look at the rollout of Google Privacy Sandbox, this really plays into that same sentiment. So if you look at sort of industry news as well, you see headlines like the ones that I collated, like on the right. So we're talking about, are Apple going to kill fingerprinting finally? Probably just going to take a while, but who knows? We're talking about Android Privacy Sandbox. We did a webinar on that one that you can download or watch at a singular website. And we're talking about media mix modeling or marketing mix modeling, whatever you want to call it. Let's call it MMM, right? So last year, I was asked by one of our partners, Push, to make a prediction about, what marketeer is going to be looking at. And MMM is one of those things. And we actually see that right now as well when we talk to our partners and we talk to a lot of our large customers, that they're looking at more than one ways to evaluate how are my performance campaigns doing, what is effective, where I'm going to allocate my money. And if you go to the next slide, we can go a bit deeper into that. So it is hybrid measurement, and why is it important? Now, hybrid measurement in a way is a holistic way to look at how effective your performance marketing tactics are. And I think one question in the chat was about, hey, I've got discrepancies like in my various platforms and with some of the tools that I'm using. And actually that's quite normal because like you're always going to have, platform data, you're going to have MMP data, and you're going to have scan data. Now, where it comes a bit more complicated is if you say like, hey, like I know that I've got like, different sets of data, but I actually want to have like one source that tells me, hey, who has been generating this install? And there, such a source does not really exist. You can have all of your one data in one place, but you have to think about, what am I using that specific data set for? And how is that specific data set actually coming to be? So you can think about, how do I manage the optimizations of my campaign? You probably can do that simply by looking at your MMP data, right? Or looking at your scan data. But then you can also look at like, how do I decide which platform to allocate my marketing dollars to? And then you're looking perhaps at MMM. And we had a webinar with the likes of TaxFix and Cyber Games were there as well. And they said, hey, if we look at the input, and the input here is like the cost, like how much are you investing in specific platforms? And we look at like how that's impacting the bottom ROI, there are discrepancies in between like the conclusion that we would actually get like from the MMP partner and what we can actually do in terms of MMM and modeling. Now we at Singular, we're in a very good position here because we actually come from the cost aggregation background, which means that from every partner that we have a data connector with, and we have over 3,000, I mean, that's what we say in marketing jargon, but it's probably more by now, we automatically pull those costs, which means that you can not only see like how are my campaigns performing, but you can see that on the geo level as well, like on the creative level, we can pull the ROI, we can do it on the keyword level, for example, as well. And that actually puts you in a good spot if you want to do that type of measurement. So in short, there's different sets of data. The way that you actually use those data sets, they all have their own kind of use case. MMM is definitely becoming more relevant right now to add to your stash, so to say. You can go to the next slide. Now, if you look at your stack right now, and again, relating to that question, the most important for you as a marketeer is like, are you actually getting accurate insights in your activities, right? Do you have a dashboard that you can trust to make decisions about budget allocation, optimizations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Now, if you say, hey, like, I measure my campaigns in a particular way, then also ask yourself the questions, am I maybe favoring some partners over other partners, right? Am I not maybe undervaluing how SANs are performing over other networks? We see some use cases of this. And that, of course, then has like a knock-on effect. If you say, hey, I'm not successful with the likes of TikTok right now. Well, is that because TikTok is not successful as a channel? Or is that because you look at the data in a way that is not favoring that specific partner? Then the second is, can I pull all of the cost data from all of my partners? And can I do that easily? If so, great, because then you can apply some basic MMM. But the wider question is, can I do these evaluations? Like, can I actually look at how that top line is impacting the ROI or the performance, whatever you want to measure. And then the last part is, how successful am I with my scan campaigns? And we, in that same webinar that we did, which I had on the last slide, we asked that question to the room as well. And there were wildly different answers. So what we saw with the ones that have done their testing, the iteration, they are successful with some of the largest platforms and partners out there, like the likes of Loco, the likes of Meta. They say, hey, this is where my performance is coming from. The ones that say, hey, like my workaround solution to scan is actually fingerprinting, they're actually saying, hey, like we are successful with other partners. Now, we're not here in market to tell you like how you should run your business operations. But when you do struggle with scaling your iOS campaigns on some of the largest platforms in the industry, maybe have a look about how you actually are doing your measurement and have a look at like how you can actually work on scan. I think this is it in terms of the measurement part. If you can go to the next slide. I'm going to need to drink like another glass of water, so I'll be like on a webinar in another hour. I just wanted to add that. It's Pride Month, it's June, and we were doing a LGBTQ inclusivity in advertising LinkedIn live session. So if anyone is interested in that topic, feel free to join. It'll start at 6 p.m. European time.
Okay, brilliant. That's brilliant, Niels. Thank you very much. It was really interesting and insightful. So we still have 4 minutes, guys. Our panelists incredibly disciplined and effective today, huh? Okay, so let's take some questions from the audience, from the chat. So we have a question from Jack. He's asking, Apple mentioned that SKAN 5.0 will have the capability to support re-engagement and WWDC 2023. What's your opinion on this one? Anyone?
I can take this one.
All right. Okay.
And just on a side note, I'm totally joining the webinar, Niels, afterwards. So yeah, back to the question. I think that I wanted to take this question because I guess some part of the industry is having a concern if Apple is trying to be more serious about re-engagement measurement capacity through scan, or actually getting rid of dim linking on iOS, which technically we use for the remarketing right now. So re-engagement and further retargeting is basically the area that was hit by scan critically when it was released. And here the Apple deprecating dim linking doesn't really make sense because it will basically break the user experience on iOS. Therefore, it can cause a very critically low adoption from the industry. Although we don't have a really much detail other than that, I interpret personally this as a very positive sign that Apple is again considering to provide a privacy-centric solution for re-engagement and furthermore retargeting. And we will get to know more moving forward, but this will be definitely, this will definitely open up more opportunities for remarketing itself. Hence, I do not see any reason for Apple taking steps back on this area. It'll be a more opportunity for marketers who look out to do remarketing campaign.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Gio. We have another question in the chat. And have you got any insight on driving people to the App Store product pages versus the tailored landing pages on your website first?
I guess I can take this one. And as far as I understand, you mean web to app story. So it's a complex question, and I wouldn't say that everybody must have that. But web to page story is something that is worth trying because it allows to unlock more users, and I mean users that can bring revenue, so not just installs. As for comparison between App Store product page and a website, we should take into account that using a website, I mean landing pages, add an extra step between user and between your app. So this extra step may decrease the conversion rate from impression to the action action like purchase, trials, or subscription. So your first part of your funnel should be cheaper for web to app than for usual campaigns, just to cover this decrease in conversion rate. So this one, it can be a reason why product page, App Store product page can be more effective for some advertisers. And actually, we have different pictures for different apps, I mean, apps within different categories. For some apps, it's really great idea to use web to app. And for some apps, it's something like a silver bullet. They really grow their users amount and amount of revenue using this approach. But I know cases when this web to app approach doesn't work for some apps. So I'd like to say that it's really worth trying, but please don't have an extra expectation there.
Great. Thank you, Ksenia. I think we have the time for the very, very last questions, specifically because it was asked twice. So I have to ask this question. Can you name some AI tools you recommend?
I guess I can take this one. There are so many. Like it really depends depending on your use case. Do you want to generate more ads? Copy? Do you want to generate images? Do you want to generate videos? There is no one. That's also what I mentioned in my talk. There's no one size fits all. You can, I think, as a beginning, you can start with ChatGPT that we're all familiar with, and you can learn how to like the prompt engineering. And then once you have a good grasp of it, then you will better understand what ChatGPT is missing for you. And then you can try the writer, copy AI, Phrasey, Prestado. There's like literally so many. You can do a quick like a AI search, not a Google search anymore, but AI search. And you should just test it based on your specific needs. And that would be the best I think advice for now, rather than just pushing your one specific to them.
Okay, great. I think we have to wrap up because we ran out of time. So guys, I would like to thank everyone for their participation. So give a round of applause to our wonderful panelists. So hope you bring home some actionable insight and steps to level up your user acquisition efforts. So we are launching our final poll. Is it just get your feedback about your experience with this session. So huge thanks to our panelists and attendees for your time today. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful rest of the week and see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.